We'll move our site to New York to begin with this evening. The Jets losing once again, 13-6, the Carolina Panthers. It's on. The 0-17 season is on.
It
is getting more and more and more. I would say obvious in a way. I don't know, more likely. It feels like I think we can let's draw ourselves back to the summer, and we look at the coaches who are out there. The top two, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, both there. Ben Johnson, I think, more so rather than Mike Vrabel, I suppose, with that offensive mindset and the amazing things that he was doing in Detroit, and Vrabel obviously with his experience and what he did in Tennessee. Yeah. And then they didn't get either of them. We go look at Aaron Glenn.
The only thing I would say is, don't you think Vrabel was always going to the Patriots?
Yeah, no, I don't.
About it, didn't it?
He was always going to go there. That was very obvious at the time. However, Ben Johnson was up for grabs.
Yeah.
But Aaron Glenn was also up for grabs. Did some fantastic work in Detroit with that defense. They go and get him. We go, okay, all right. Well, it's not the defense that's been a problem. You had Robert Saleh in the building. He was a defensive guy, big defensive minded coach from San Francisco. Created a sterling defense at one point last year. Really formidable. And the year before that, they were formidable as well on the defense. Gets sacked. Bringing Aaron Glenn, you think, okay, solidifies the defense up again. What are we going to do at quarterback, though? Because, we need to do something here. They go and get Justin Fields, 2-year contract, 40 mil. Is that it? 40 mil?
Yeah.
Not crazy money. Not crazy money. No. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I was pretty okay with that. He had a good stint at Pittsburgh. Obviously got benched for then Russell Wilson coming back in after his injury. Some people at that time, me included, debated that decision, really. And we go in this season thinking, well, Breece Hall, better running back, I think, than most people give credit for. Garrett Wilson, one of the top wide receivers. They go and draft Mason Taylor, very hot prospect tight end out of college. And it's just not looking good at all. They're one of the worst teams to watch in the NFL, if not the worst team to watch. 29th in passing offense as of this morning, with teams still to play. 30th in passing yards per game. First in sacks, 31. I'm okay with that. That's Justin Fields' game. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I've said that a lot, haven't I, in the last few weeks about some of these guys would get sacked. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. I'm okay with that. If that's your game, that works. It's fine by me. They are 6th in rushing yards. They are 10th joint in 10th fumbles, joint second. And I look down at the schedule, Adam. I look at it. I can't see the wins.
No. So, I know it's early, but I like to throw in a shameless plug to free bets, as always. I did every week I do a news article, and I didn't know. Obviously, because we were at the game yesterday, it became a little bit like, oh God, what am I going to write about? And at some ridiculous time at night, I was messaging Andrew going, what the hell am I going to write about? And I was a little bit like, what about the Jets? There must be something about the Jets going 0-17. Like, there must be some sort of betting odds around. And I couldn't find one for them to go 0-17, which I was a little surprised about. But obviously, they still do regular season wins and stuff like that. And so I did one for that. So you'll be able to see that tomorrow at free bets. There you go. There's your regular, the horrible plug. But you're probably going to hear now what I think. I kind of agree. I don't know where these wins come from, because when you look at the schedule, the Bengals won last week against your Steelers and looked reasonably all right when it came to the offense. The defense is still struggling a bit, but looked all right. The Browns won yesterday and looked pretty good with the run game. So I think that they'll be difficult to beat in that respect. Patriots doing well. Ravens, Lamar Jackson back. Falcons are doing all right. Who else you got? Now the Dolphins is the one where you kind of think to yourself, okay, maybe the Dolphins, they could win that one. The Jaguars away. Jaguars looked really bad yesterday that we saw, but you know, that could just be a blip and they've looked all right. Saints have looked like they'll give it a go every single game. They give it a go. They're not great, but they're certainly better than what the Jets have been. Patriots again, and then potentially the Bills in the last game if the Bills are resting all their starters. So it's tough. It's tough to see a win. And whilst I was sort of like looking at it, they will be the first team to go 0-17. No team has done that because obviously now there's 17 games. But it's actually very difficult to lose every game. Like, you know, these guys are like professionals who are trying, and even if they're not necessarily trying, they're trying for the Jets at the time, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're trying for the Jets in the long term. They're trying for contracts in other teams and just their own careers and stuff like that. So it's very difficult for a whole group of guys to just completely not win a game across this season, you know. So it's bizarre, and it just feels like it's not going to turn around. And I still don't. I don't believe you get rid of him. I don't feel like he should go, Aaron Glenn. It's like it's been 7 games. It's like you have to give people time in order to be able to do anything. But I just don't see where this stops and where this changes for them. I mean, you know, you would know more than me. You were there when they played the Broncos in London. And from what I saw of I watched like the second half of it because I was out earlier. But from what I saw, there was just nothing. And then in this game, just this weekend against the Panthers, again, there's nothing. And Justin Fields has been benched. And you brought in Tyrod Taylor, who's then thrown 2 interceptions as well. And it it's just, you just sort of look at it all and you go, where does it end? And I think the answer is it doesn't. I think that's the problem.
To mildly defend, they lost by 2 points to the Steelers. They lost by 2 points to the Bucks. They lost by 6 to the Dolphins. They lost by 2 points to Denver. They lose by 7 points to Carolina. There's close games in there. There's close games. I'll admit that. There's close games. But then, like you said, when you look now further on the schedule, Browns and the Dolphins are the 2 games I go. They're the ones. If you want to get anything from this season, they're the 2 games you've got to target here. I don't think you're beating the Patriots on both occasions. Ravens, like you said, with Lamar back, not happening. Atlanta, way better outfit. Jacksonville, like I said, though we saw them, they were terrible. They're a good outfit. They know what they're about. Saints, again, got a real ballsy team. Like they know what they know where they want to go. I'm not sure. This is the discussion we had the other week, wasn't it? About the coach that got fired at Tennessee.
Brian Callahan.
Yeah, Brian Callahan. Sorry, was what is this team? Why? Where am I finding your identity? Where am I finding your personality? I'd say I'm finding it a little bit in some of your, you know, that front 6. There's some guys in there. There's some good players. Aaron Glenn, I think he's getting a bit of a pass with the fact that he's from the Dan Campbell tree. Yeah, Dan Campbell's first season, he went 3-13-1. I think some people are pointing to that. I think that's where he's getting defended a lot. I actually think if they went 0-17, he doesn't. I don't think he loses his job, and I don't think he should either. I do think you have to be a bit patient. And okay, you go 0-17, you go, okay, with the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, you're probably going to be looking at quarterback, probably at this point. But then again, we go into next season with a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields. Do you do the whole Justin Fields starts, bring him? Does that work? Do rookie quarterbacks develop well enough under defensive coaches when we're looking around the league at the minute? That's an argument. There's a massive argument in there. At one that we definitely believe in on this podcast for sure. And you go, well, what are we playing for then? We're playing for a quarterback, but then we might have a quarterback in terms of, are we going to manage that properly? You look at the cap, they're mid-range in caps. So they don't need to worry about offloading. You know, what do we do now at this point? Because if we're going on, if we're 0-7 at this point, it's probably, you know, we're not going to have a winning record in my mind. I think everyone knows that. So what we're winning, what we're playing for here? Your mid-ranging cap, like I said, don't need to offload really. You have got some key players that are coming up. Elijah Vera Tucker, Brees Hall. You may want to offload them at the trade deadline. They may want to be re-signed later on. I think Vera Tucker's not done enough for me to warrant a new contract or a big
He's
contract.
had a lot of injuries though, hasn't he?
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
but
I know it's
that's
part of
that's
it,
not
but
warranted
yeah.
enough. That's not warranted enough. You can't stay healthy. You're not going to be on the
Yeah.
team, unfortunately. Brees Hall, they're going to have to make a decision on that as well. So then what are we playing for this season? I think when you're in that scenario, what you're playing for then is we need to know what the plan is. We need to know what the identity is. There's a way of winning, there's a way of losing in this league. And they are losing in the wrong way. You know, you got Garrett Wilson getting upset on the sideline. And that's not a mark on Garrett Wilson. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be getting upset. But players start to get upset and they look like that. There's probably people that are pretty upset in the building, and it's going, all right, we lost again, but at least we're going somewhere. At least we know we're going somewhere. Look at Kellen Moore. Look at Kellen Moore at New Orleans. They're going somewhere. I don't think it'll be fast, but they're going somewhere. And the Saints fans are going to be okay with that. They can sit with that. It's a ferocious market, that New York media and that New York fan base. They are going to want to see something. And what I saw with the Gents Broncos game, seeing them live, as you referred to earlier, was I saw a quarterback that is not getting protected, is not really having a clue of where to go. A run game that didn't look like it was exciting. A defense that they did well. They did fairly well to keep Denver at bay, to be fair to them. And they've got some good players, but they signed Sauce to a very big contract. You can't call Sauce Gardner a top 10 cornerback at the minute. You've got Quinnen Williams in the middle, a very, very good defensive tackle, but it can't be just him. You've got young guys who are not developing at the right rate. People like Jermaine Johnson, who I know was a low-round draft pick. Will McDonald. They're good players. I think they're good players. I think they've got a bright future ahead of them, but they need to keep developing. Now, Aaron Glenn's the guy to do that, I think. I think he is the guy to do that. But we then need to have a look at the situation of what's going on in this offense and how do they develop that. And if you're a defensive head coach, who do you bring in to be that guy next to you? And we're seeing that now around the league. We're seeing that now around the league that it's not on the head coach. It's got to be on the whole staffing. Yeah. And you've got to make that all work. And it's very, very hard. It's very hard to get. You look at the other Lions guy, who we're probably, spoiler alert, going to talk about it at some point. He brought in a defensive coordinator who got booted out at New Orleans and was terrible at New Orleans. Turns out he's a pretty all right defensive coordinator. He's clearly a very good defensive coordinator. So, I mean, last team to go 0-17. It was 0-16 was the Cleveland Browns in 2017. What more is there to say? I mean, it's the number one. At this point, you're going. We're playing for the number one draft pick.
Yeah, I mean that is what it is, and I mean, even if you're not playing for the number one pick, you're playing for a very high pick, which means that you can get yourself a quarterback and stuff like that. I feel like the fact that you've decided to bench Justin Fields in a tight game as well. I think they probably did it thinking if Tyrod Taylor can come out and do something, we can win this, which is why they've benched him. I think that says an awful lot about where they are with Justin Fields now. Now, I know for certain that if Andrew was here, he'd come out and say that they're not playing him in the right way. And I'm not going to say that that's not right. He would know more than me. I mean, he was an Ohio State player, and he played with, he watched a lot of that at college. But the thing that I've noticed with Fields over the last few weeks is he keeps holding on to the ball, and he needs to get rid of it. And it's just like it seems to be quite a common thing, and it's something that seems to be happening with a lot of college quarterbacks, where they just the unwillingness to just throw away the ball and have another go, because they just don't do that in college, because you just run around and you just keep going, and it's like you don't need to. But I think his time has probably come and gone now at the Jets. I don't see him doing much else now, and I don't think he'll get another starting gig. To be honest, I think that he'll probably be a backup now. So yeah, but when it comes to the whole organisation, it's just a mess, and I think they're just going to have to go through it now. There is no other option. I think it is literally, you just have to stick by your guy. He's literally just walked into the building for this season, and you've got to give him time. And if you do that, hopefully at some point he'll be able to turn it around. He'll be able to draft his quarterback, and they might actually be able to do something. But until you get to that point, I think there's nothing else to do really.
Well, we'll be keeping our eyes firmly on New York and seeing if it is a winless season.